I hope you're all doing well. I'm glad to have you back.
I know most of you are new to this channel and I want to welcome you. My name is Haley and I have a passion for creativity and design that started at a very young age. I was raised in our family florist and I've spent my entire life around people with a passion for creating beautiful things. I'm my happiest when I'm making things and I love working with my hands. I'm constantly being inspired by the people, places, and things around me, and I feel blessed to be able to see so many of my ideas become reality. Things aren't always perfect, but just like everything else in life, there is beauty in progress. Most of my current projects involve the renovation and design of our farmhouse that we purchased in October of 2023. I have a vision for designing several gardens throughout the farm, and this week has been spent working on the area closest to the house, as we recently had to remove several trees that were a safety concern. I have to admit it's been a mess, but it's been exciting to have the freedom to design this area literally from the ground up. So far, the focus has been on adding in structure that will be manageable in size. I also tried to select plants that will add four-season interest. I chose to do a long wall of laurel hedging that will divide the space and be the backdrop for the apple trees that I planted in one of my last videos. Eventually, those apple trees will be surrounded by large beds of flowering shrubs and perennials, and the whole space will have the feeling of an English-style garden.
I'm getting ready to head outside and I thought I would bring you along. Today is going to be pretty informal. My hair is air drying and I'm going to be working on several things outside.
Starting with planting out the first of the sweet peas that I started from seed. I picked up these planter boxes on clearance at Lowe's recently, and the trellises I got from Corinth Nursery and Garden Center in Corinth, Mississippi. It's not a large nursery, but I've been there a couple of times and I'm always impressed at how curated the selection feels. Since they're still small, I'm adding in some twigs for support. I like the way it looks versus using something man-made, and as they grow I can attach them to the trellis. After I get this finished, I'm going to go ahead and give them a good water with some added fertilizer. I really like the character the planters add to the space. I will be excited to see these raised beds filled over the next few days. The hill that you see behind me is a serious eyesore. I feel like we live on Mars. I'm so sick of seeing red back here. I think that Matt Damon is going to show up and start planting potatoes or something.
Mars will come to fear my botany powers.
I went ahead and started some perennials over here that are drought tolerant. And let's get you a little closer so you can see. The first one often has a bad reputation. This is stachys or lamb's ear, and on this hillside it will eventually fill in a little bit. Not a solid carpet, but it will help with any water runoff and just to help to stabilize this, because there was an oak tree here that kind of hung over and shaded the yard that we had taken out, so it's a little bit loose right here. The lamb's ear gets a bad rap most often because people put it in the wrong location. It really does better with limited nutrients and water. And the second plant is an autumn joy sedum. I have several of these divisions that I have spread around, and I really love the way they look. It does really well whenever it doesn't have too many nutrients and too much water. If you overwater and over-fertilize sedum, it will tend to flop. So on this side, it will do really, really well. And then the third plant is one of my favorites, a nepeta or catmint. This will produce beautiful purple flowers that will bloom up until the first frost. They're very, very easy to grow and they look a lot like lavender. But again, this side is an eyesore. Unfortunately, I injured my knee this week, so my husband and son stepped in and helped out as we added in a few more perennials and some mulch. The mulch will not only cover up some of this mud, but also prevent weeds and retain moisture so the newly planted perennials can get a head start on rooting in. I'm always a sucker for a purple and white color palette, so I chose to add in 6 emerald blue creeping phlox. I like that they look like a blanket of blooms, and phlox is usually pretty tolerant of heat, so it will work well on this west-facing site. My son absolutely loves to work outside, even if it means helping me plant flowers. My husband has learned a lot over the years, and it's funny when I realize the things he's absorbed. We have a running joke, though, that he always thinks everything is dead. As it warms up, things are slowly coming back to life, and he's always shocked to see that things weren't dead after all. I'm always thankful for their help, and I think it looks a lot better already. I'm going to take you over here and we're going to check on this curly willow that I planted. I did cheat and sneak over here yesterday. We finally got some new leaves coming in.
Today we're going to work on floral arranging, specifically floral arrangements with live potted plants, which can then later be planted out in your yard, either in containers, raised beds, or even in flower beds, as long as they have adequate drainage. The largest risk for these bulbs is going to be that they could possibly rot, so you just want to make sure you plant them somewhere where they have adequate drainage. I've already completed this one, and I actually purchased this one before they bloomed, so that's my first tip if you're going to purchase potted bulbs such as tulips, irises, daffodils. You really want to try to get them where they're almost about to bloom but not fully in bloom. This mixed pot that I purchased, you can see, has tulips, daffodils, crocus, which I wanted some crocus that were alone. I wasn't able to find any, and then hyacinths. So these are just budded out, so I know that they're going to bloom, but they're not open yet. And the same thing with the daffodils. So you can see here, it almost looks just like another stem of the plant, but there's just that little swollen portion, and that's going to be where your bloom will come from. The most difficult thing to do that with is going to be your tulips. They just don't show themselves quite like the other ones do. I also have this mixed color hyacinth. So hyacinths, I'll insert some footage. I bought several last year and potted out in one of our raised beds, and they've come back beautifully. So I'm really excited about that. I wanted to add some more, but I thought we could enjoy them in the house for a few days. Kind of want to make a thing of it. I want to make a little arrangement out of it. I want something that looks pretty natural. These daffodils are actually a jumbo daffodil, and they smell wonderful. And I really like the look of when you can see some of the bulb exposed sitting on top of the dirt. So I've already done this one the same way, except for this container I did get for Valentine's Day for my husband, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't scratch it. So I did line it with some plastic cling wrap. on the inside. I've also already completed the tulips that I have here, as well as these daffodils, and these were actually on our own property. So one important thing to know, if you want to harvest some from the wild, you just want to make sure that you dig around that root ball as wide as possible, try not to disturb them, and leave them in kind of the clump that they were already in. So if you're looking for something to fit in a specific container, a lot of times daffodils, we call them buttercups here, they'll grow in clumps. And if you have a small container, you want to look for a small clump and then keep that clump together. You don't want to try to separate that at all. I'm going to move y'all around where you can see. I've gathered up some supplies here. I've got several containers of different sizes. I have some soil, some organic potting soil. I have some moss. I'm pretty happy all the raised beds have been completed. We're working on getting them filled, and hopefully I can do a quick video just talking about raised beds. I think I may try to do it as a separate video. I'm still up in the air with that. I have a hard time doing anything I don't enjoy, and trying to make those really specific DIY tutorial videos is just not where it's at for me. So we'll see, no promises. I do want to give y'all some information though, because I see where people spread a lot of misinformation about raised beds, and there's a lot of people that don't use them for reasons that I don't fully understand, but they just have so many advantages. So raised beds are really where it's at in my eyes. All right, I think I've got you moved around. Hopefully you can see me and a little bit of my workspace as well. I'll kind of shuffle things in and out so you can watch what I'm doing. I think I'm gonna start with this terracotta planter first. And you may be wondering why I don't choose to just leave them in the containers they're in. And it's mainly just because this is what I wanted to do. I've been kind of looking forward to this since last spring. It's just something fun. I think that's probably everything that I do. Mainly is just stuff that brings me joy. So I've got some gravel that I brought in. You can also get some bagged rock if you don't have access to any gravel where you live. Lining the bottom. This just keeps them from sitting in any water. And the terracotta also really will help with that as well. I love the look of terracotta pots, but it took me a little while to figure out how to use them. And once you figure it out, it makes total sense. It just requires a little bit different thought process and a little bit different care, but if these bulbs are going to stay in here for any amount of time, it will help keep them from rotting. I love these planters. These are from a company called Berg's. I think I got this one on Black Friday from Terrain, but I have several. Again, I love terracotta pots, and I try to add some to my collection whenever I can. These Berg's pots are a little bit more expensive, but I take care of them, and hopefully if I do everything right, they'll last my whole life. So I've got my bagged moss that I already mentioned. The reindeer moss is in here as well. I did purchase that, and you can purchase sheep moss, reindeer moss. It's really whatever look works best for you. Okay, my rocks are in my planter, my rocks are in my pot, and I'm just pulling this out whole. So if I were planting this outside, I would do things very differently, but right now I want to make sure that the roots are not disturbed any more than I have to, because I want these blooms to open up, and hyacinths smell so good. I placed this in the container of my soil. That's why it's nice to have this big container. And that way, when you're trying to fill these small gaps, anything that misses your pot will just go back with the rest of the soil. It really helps with the amount of cleanup you have to do afterwards. I love these. I love the look of these potted bulbs. I like the way they kind of bring in a natural element into the house. This time of year, the weather is just all over the place. I really wanted to do some filming outside the past couple days, and I took y'all outside yesterday and planted those sweet peas. This is actually the next day. I guess you can tell I'm wearing different clothes. But it's windy. We're supposed to have some severe weather coming, and you know, we have this studio set up for a reason, so I decided I should just stop trying to make things more difficult for myself and come back in here. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more, but if you have the space or the ability to keep containers, or like the pansies that I planted out and that I'm adding to some of these pots, if you buy several, the nurseries will let you just take the tray that they're sitting on. They make a great place to start seeds that you don't have to purchase. I'll be the first person to tell you I'm probably not the most environmentally friendly person, but I do know the nursery industry is really wasteful. I may have somebody come at me for saying that, I don't know, but there's just so much plastic, and I think things could be done a little bit better sometimes. I'm just adding my moss here. Not adding it in solid sheets, just kind of sections, making sure I don't cover up my bulbs. I think I'm gonna sit this guy to the side while I finish the rest. I grew up in our family florist. My grandmother started in 1997. She and I were extremely close. So I literally grew up in the flower shop. And I still work there some, especially during the busy seasons, holidays. I try to help out as much as I can. I'm not gonna act like I work there full time. My mom and my aunt really deserve the credit for keeping the business going over the last several years. But I'm still fortunate enough to have learned a lot. And I guess that's why design is just something I think about all the time. So I have this footed planter. I didn't show you guys. I picked this up at an antique store in Tupelo, Mississippi. I'll try to put the name on screen. I can't remember. It was actually an old factory building, and supposedly Elvis's mother worked in that factory. Don't quote me on that. I'm gonna try to make this work. And for this, I'm gonna add in a couple of these pansies. And I think I wanna do a little bit of an asymmetrical. So let's move this grouping over to one side. So it's probably about 2/3 the way around. And again, if I were planting these things outside, I would make sure to loosen the roots a little bit, because at that point I want to make sure that the plant is going to root into the soil well. But in this case, right now, my priority is making sure that my blooms stay nice for as long as possible. I'm excited to put these out in the house. I think this container makes it look pretty special. Alright, and I've got my twigs that I foraged here. Just tried to make sure that I got some really small pieces. I want to go a little bit higher than my tallest daffodil stems. Let's see. Didn't do a very good job there, did I? Once again, I was kind of going for an asymmetrical look anyway, so I love this, actually. Super cute. Let's take all this in the dining room and I'll bring y'all in there with me. Isn't this just so cute? Yeah. Don't you just love